Paul Mitchell lives and writes in Kingsville, which is just across the road from where I live. He's published 2 books of poetry, Awake Despite the Hour by Five Islands Press, and his first poetry book was Minorphysics. Of course, he's also written a collection of short stories called Dodging the Bull, and all those books are for sale here tonight. He is a journalist, he's a professional writer, he's a facilitator at writing workshops, and he's got his own website too, so if you think of Paul Mitchell with a little slash in between, you'll get him. Of course, the thing I'm most proud of him, I went on long service leave in the middle of the last decade, and he came and looked after the Rotunda Community Writing Centre at Sunbury, and they loved him there, and he really put poetry on the map there. He's lectured at VU in poetry and writing. He's lectured at Melbourne University. He was on the very first panel along with Alice and Kristen, I've told you that, 40 sessions ago, 5 years ago. Paul has been a poet on our fabulous Twilight Poetry bus as well. Can you imagine a double-decker bus with 80 people on board and going off to the Williamstown Peninsula on a stormy night with a mulled wine in your hand? Could you please welcome Mr. Paul Sleepless in Braybrook Mitchell.
Bruno Lettieri, don't you love saying that name? Bruno Lettieri, is that right? Did I pronounce that right? It's close, Lettieri. Yeah. He's an inspiration to me. And I think he's probably an inspiration to a lot of people here. Is that true? Give him a round of applause. He's such an inspiration that when he said, he talked about the theme for tonight, which was my enduring love affair with writing, I took it as inspiration rather than an opportunity to talk to you about how and why I write. I could chat about that over a beer or two if you want, but what I did was I sort of looked at this question, this idea of the enduring love affair with writing. I thought, I'm in a really rocky position at the moment with my relationship with writing. I didn't even want to talk about it to anybody. I was just talking to Hanny about the experience of, I guess it's loving in the dark rather than labouring in the dark, but you can sort of work and work and work and work and wonder what the hell you're doing. But I took Bruno's inspiration and thought, I'll go back to my first love, I'll go back to poetry, and I'll allow his statement to inspire me for a few weeks until tonight. And 4 poems have come out. Hooray! Lucky they did. And when I look at them, I look and think, well, they've dealt with different kinds of love too. Love for friends, love for, I guess, the world around you. The third one is trying to understand yourself, and the fourth one's trying to understand your family. All of these things connected to love and the experience of writing that offers you that connection with these subjects. So I'll start with the first one. I wrote it in inspiration. I found out about a friend of mine, Kevin Hart, who's a poet, a really great poet, who's recently separated from his wife, and I found that it's a really heavy experience to hear that, and I've been through the same thing, and as my response just came out in poetry rather than in words to him, and it's called The End of the Butterfly Years. Your wife of the butterfly years returns to her cocoon, and the scrape of a workman's shovel plays heavy metal from which even your son shields his ears. Your wit has deserted you too. You can't bring yourself to clash a dry pun on a sweet cymbal. No words will describe the words you're forced to rock in your arms. You slip on the wet floorboards of your own poems, but won't allow yourself a towel or the luxury of a fire to dry damp similes. The garden where meaning, truth and beauty stood, traditionally robed and dignified, now show footprints filled drip by drop with salt water you refuse to name. Here's the memory of your wife of the butterfly years in your bed, peeling fig after fig, making you think engulfed by sadness, but you mean sadness gulfs you, scatters the land you were to form a drowning archipelago. But all these metaphors sicken you. Neither images nor their deconstruction will do to explain the clown who cried himself from the circus, who reads a short letter from a long piece of paper, while lawyers tie fly-blown wigs in knots. How did the bathroom cupboard get so empty, or the children's eyes forget their colour? That rug must be removed with everything under it, even the broom, and you won't get yourself started on the bedroom cupboard, the coat hangers chiming their advice. You're free, if only to walk in a coma while friends shake you with promises, unlimited travel expense accounts, more figs to slice than Adam on his wedding night, and long hours of television you hoped one day to find time for. But now it's ticking. You see your reflection in a dark screen watching you. If only it were. Not this modified version, hacked from the mountain by workmen, then pushed back into the cutting. No evidence to show what their shovels removed. And your wife, of the butterfly years, is in her cocoon, but no, wait, she's flying again, spinning circles round the sun. The heat from her flutter warms your skin but turns your dreams to moth-wing dust. You stand in the midst of the cloud, flap your arms, and from your sleeves fall words, the larvae you wrote for her, stillborn to the floor. That's one of the things that poetry offers you, that ability to tap into emotions at a level when you just can't understand them. They can come out a different way. I've been doing these things that I'm calling field recordings, where I turn up in places and I text away on my phone, but really I'm not texting, I'm taking notes on what people are saying, and I apply rules to this. This is actually a formal type of poetry. There are rules. I'm not going to explain them. It'd be boring, but I'll just read the poem. And it's called Field Recordings, Emerald Hotel, South Melbourne. He's turning 57 in a month, and the last 6 months, I don't know, you don't compromise yourself. No, they're there, but so many close family friends, people like Steve and Jane, they're the types, it's ridiculous. Everyone's on edge, so you've got to sort it out. My son-in-law, last Saturday night, I put the caravan at the front door. I put it at the front door and I was rooted. It weighs a ton, but not quite. The guys from Repat came, but they can't do it until next Tuesday. Your birthday present. It's your factory, you're the one with the title. When I went to the footy Anzac Day, the MCG's drainage, the big difference is you don't see mud on the ground. I'd just like to learn about it. Guns and knives and the General of Rome. His general knowledge just leaves me speechless. He should be running the other way, not looking at the sun. He hasn't got a mean bone in his body. Wait until you see my new shoes. Thanks. And this one hasn't even got a title. It's so new. You awake to find it's too late to make the journey. The bathroom is too far from the mountains, which are too far from another identity crisis. You consider an initial between your names, a new pair of hiking boots, and an electric toothbrush. But the sale catalogue, you notice, was written by Patterson, not Lawson, and the prices are beyond you, on horseback, shouting, not drunk on the back of a splintered wagon. Wait for the weather to clear, shouts the motivational speaker, folding his wings and smiling from his cocoon. But you've never seen so much fog in your bathroom. Your reflection in the misted mirror, in great coat and beanie, could be Albert T. Washington. Now there's an identity, a mountain to climb, a mouth of myth to throw your false teeth into. If I had to analyse that poem, which I wouldn't sort of dare put upon my students, I think it's about the writing process and dealing with love in the dark. I might call something love in the dark. It probably has been called that. This one's about, everyone who's had a mother. Everyone had a mother, hopefully. And the tone that some mothers can take. This is my last one. Thanks for having me, and thanks, Bruno, again for the chance to read. It's called A Motherly Tone, and it's a bit of a performance poem. I'll end up in the loony bin. You kids will send me to Ararat, one day with your bickering and fighting and carrying on. Can't you behave yourselves? Stop the Tommy rot for a minute. Look at my hands. They're on fire, and I don't see one of you little buggers trying to put them out. Don't try now. Stop. Let go of them. You'll burn yours too. Then you'll have nothing to cuddle me with if it's dark in your room and I'm crying. Go on then, off you go. Ignore your mother, like you always do. I'll just climb in the fridge, clear out the beer, sit in there and knit cold pearls to wear out for dinner. Where's your father? Don't you kids turn out like him, gonna be here, gonna do this. He's hopeless, that man, fiddling and faddling around. Don't you play up for the babysitter or by golly, you'll get one right across your backsides. I tell you what now, there'll be no mucking around. Stop that sniggering or it's back in your egg carton. There'll be no going to surfers this summer. I'll poach you buggers with butter, stamp you under high heels till yolks rise up in your throats. That's right, off you go. Ignore your mother. Go on with ya, the lot of ya. I'll be a bloody rat by summer. Where's your father? Let me out of this fridge, my mouth's freezing over.